So John McCain has identified his targets on the electoral map. He is zeroing in. His campaign finally appears to be making sharp decisions under deadline. Another long-delayed moment of clarity? McCain's message. So far, the senator has pitched his experience, his country-firstness, his maverickitude, his loathing for earmarks, his unsocialist nature, despite the bailout thingy. The McCain campaign messages this year have been legion. Well, today it seems like he may have stumbled on the message he should have had from the beginning. Like a stage actor turning around and noticing that although he's dressed for the Lion King, the set he's on was built for Spamalot. McCain seems to have finally figured out that he can run against George W. Bush. Not just rebutting Obama's charge that McCain is like Bush, but actively campaigning against the most unpopular thing in American politics, George W. Bush's legacy. Here's Senator McCain with the Washington Times on what's wrong with the current presidency.
Spending, the conduct of the war in Iraq for years, growth in the size of government, larger than any time since the Great Society, laying a $10 trillion debt on future generations of America, owing $500 billion to China. Obviously, failure to both enforce and modernize the regulatory agencies that were designed for the 1930s, and certainly not for the 21st century.
Okay, leaving aside how funny it is for McCain to champion regulation with the dark angel of deregulation, Phil Gramm, poking out of his pocket protector, the important thing here is that McCain has just hit upon this genius idea to run against Bush now, 12 days from the election. He did say he was not Bush at the last debate, but it wasn't until today that McCain got specific. The question is, has John McCain's big strategic epiphany, his big duh moment, has it come too late to win him a state like Ohio? Right now, Obama leads Ohio by an average of 6 points in this last week of polls. But almost 7% of Ohio voters remain undecided. Undecided still? After looking at the menu for almost 2 years? My hunch is that a lot of voters in the middle are done with Bush, but they don't like Obama, and they're looking for a new reason they haven't yet heard to vote for John McCain. A couple of weeks of John McCain whacking the proverbial piñata that is the president, could that be enough to turn the close battlegrounds around? Seriously? Somebody talk me down? Joining us now is Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown, who is supporting Barack Obama for president. Senator Brown, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Rachel, glad to be with you. Thank you.
Here's your chance to try to talk me down. What are those 7% of undecided voters in your home state waiting to hear?
Well, I was today in Chillicothe and Zanesville and Hebron near Newark, Ohio, and what Ohio voters have asked for, they hear the 90% of the time, Barack, that John McCain voted with George Bush. Now they're hearing John McCain attack George Bush, but really all they wanted to hear this whole campaign was on one major economic issue, that John McCain was going to do something differently from George Bush. Tax cuts for the rich, John McCain wants to do more of them. Job-killing trade agreements, John McCain wants to do more of them. Deregulation, the Bush deregulation, McCain wants to do more of it. So there's nothing out there what he's going to do in the future different about the economy that would lead Ohioans to think that this is a new day, that John McCain will actually break with George Bush.
Can you pull the wool over people's eyes, though, by not necessarily talking about the specifics of policy and instead just saying the phrase Joe the plumber all the time, creating the impression that you're going to do something for the middle class and working people, even if you don't get to the policies that really don't follow through on that idea?
No, people see through that. I actually today, believe it or not, when I was in Zanesville, I met Mr. Bates, who actually is a plumber. He's in his 40s. He inherited the business from his father. He's doing well. He was at an Obama rally. He was at a rally that we were doing for Obama, and he was there because he knows that the Obama tax cut will help the middle class. He opposes these trade agreements that he knows cost jobs in places like Portsmouth and Mansfield and Findlay and all over my state. He knows that that Barack wants to do the right things with regulation, not deregulate Wall Street and privatize Social Security and all the other things that McCain wants to do. He's a solid middle-class voter that understands that Barack Obama will fight for the middle class. And the John McCain, again, it's all about the oil industry and the drug companies and the insurance industry. And he knows where John McCain would take the country, down the same road as George Bush did.
Why hasn't Barack Obama pulled away cleanly in Ohio by now? Obviously, the way that you are talking about policy issues, the stark policy difference on economic issues between the two candidates, that's how you won your seat in Ohio in a year and in a place where people didn't necessarily think you'd be able to pull it off, and you did very well for yourself. It sounds like you hear the same things coming from Barack Obama that brought you a victory in Ohio. How come he's not further ahead than he is now?
Well, there's been a transformation in the last 2 weeks, probably 3 weeks in Ohio, in rural areas and suburban areas where voters have increasingly become more comfortable with Barack. You're seeing that movement in the polls now. I mean, look, Rachel, Ohio is a fairly conservative state. Voters in Ohio are older than in the national average, and it's taken a while, but we are ready to go in this race. It's not over by a long shot. I'm optimistic, but I'm not overconfident. But I'm seeing in small towns where the governor and I, especially, are spending a lot of time. I'm seeing a movement towards Barack Obama because they really do understand that John McCain can change a strategy every 2 or 3 days. I have trouble keeping up with this new strategy that he has every 2 or 3 days, and they're seeing a very different course that Barack Obama is going to take, and that's what people want to hear in Ohio, and that's what they're going to hold us to after the election.
The poll numbers look better for Obama in Pennsylvania and in Michigan and Wisconsin than they do in Ohio right now. We are seeing some volatility in Ohio. Do you want to make any predictions about how things are going to go on November 4th?
Yeah, we're going to win Ohio, and we're not as democratic a state as those, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan. We've always known that. We have to work harder. Ohio, I heard Governor Kane talk about the offices that Barack Obama has in Virginia. In Ohio, he has more than 100 offices. I've never seen the kind of grassroots excitement in this state ever in a political campaign and the kind of organization. And we're just seeing people that were never involved wanting to be involved this year, working, talking to people, going door to door. All the things in grassroots politics are so important, and that's why we're going to win the state. We have a candidate that's a strong leader in contrast to a candidate, John McCain, who's a bit erratic and changes his views and changes his message and changes his strategy every few days, and it's pretty clear that voters are going to choose the real leader in this race, and that's Senator Obama.
Sherrod Brown, Senator from the great state of Ohio, thanks for coming on the show. Real happy to have you here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Rachel.